Hello again, this is Brian Moore, and welcome to the Rotary session entitled Making Rotary Friends. Tonight, we're going to share with you about two primary groups that are a vehicle for you to make those connections. Number one is the Rotary Action Group. That's composed basically of people with similar expertise and that also want to take action on a specific project. The other group is Rotary Fellowships. These are more or less social groups that have a common passion for a specific item. The RAGs, as we call, or Rotary Action Groups, were actually created in July of 2006, so they're relatively new. So now, to share some information about the Rotary Action Groups, here's Bob.
Thank you, Brian. Let's talk a few minutes about Rotary Action Groups. Rotary Action Groups are for Rotarians who have a similar passion, and they work together to combat the abuse in the area they have that passion for. Not only are they local, but they are international. So you're working with members throughout the entire world on whatever your passion might be. And they collaborate on projects and can be very impactful on developing global grants. Rotary International first recognized Rotary Action Groups in 2005 and sanctioned them in 2006. They are independent organizations. They have their own governance, their own membership rules, and they have activities. Rotary International only says that they must follow Rotary International policies. As you can see on the slide, Rotary Action Group supported a number of projects in the last Rotary year. There was just the Rotary Action Group to combat malaria was part of an organization that was just awarded a $2 million program of scale grant. This grant, along with a match from the Gates Foundation of $2 million and the World Vision of $2 million, made a $6 million project that is designed to combat malaria in the country of Zambia, something along the scale of what we're doing with polio worldwide. There are 25 sanctioned action groups, and as you can see, many of them here on the screen, there's any number of things that have an action group. So if you have a specialty that you want to get more involved in, you can probably find an action group that follows that desire. I now would like to introduce Lynette Andersen, who is the Peace Chair of our district, a member of the Rotary Club of North Sacramento, and she is a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. Lynette's going to tell you just a few things about her passion and work with this action group in creating peace in the world. Lynette, it's your turn.
So the Rotary Action Group for Peace is an organization that basically provides a network and resources for people who want to promote peace. Now, every Rotary project is supposed to promote peace. That's kind of the underlying purpose. But with the Rotary Action Group for Peace, they're looking at projects whose primary purpose is to promote peace. And one of the things that they do is they provide a network that gives you access to a lot of people who are doing peace work within the organization of Rotary and outside of Rotary, that sometimes you wonder, so how would I actually find these people? So some of them are the Rotary Peace Fellows. We pay to have people go to school and get a master's degree in peace and conflict. And after they do that, sometimes clubs wonder, well, how would I get one of those people to come and talk to my club? Well, through the Rotary Action Group for Peace, you can find them. You can find Rotary Youth Exchange participants, old group study exchange people, new generations, Rotary-sponsored program participants, and NGOs, and other peace-minded citizens. And so it provides a whole network for you to access, to get information and to get people who will help you with any kind of a project that you're interested in. One of the main things that the Rotary Action Group for Peace does is it actually provides a framework for becoming what's called a Peace Builder Club. Right now, we're a Peace Builder District, and that's really cool because it means that we're actually supporting a scholarship for a Peace Fellow, a $50,000 scholarship. But if you're a Peace Builder Club, you can actually create a project that promotes peace. One of the things that I think is really interesting, I know that Bob is involved with the human trafficking. And I went to visit my family in Topeka a couple of years ago, and I was really looking through the Rotary Action Group for Peace, their website. They have every Peace Builder Club in the world on a map on that website. And I noticed that there was a club in South Topeka. And the South Topeka Club was doing a human trafficking project. And I thought, you know, that's kind of cool that we have those two things in common. And what was even cooler about it was that the club meets at the hotel where my sisters and I stayed while we were visiting our family, so there was even more of a connection. But anyway, it's just interesting to me how you can find these connections all over the place. So your club can become a Peace Builder Club. And as a Peace Builder Club, you can also connect with other Peace Builder Clubs within our district and support our Peace Builder District. We have a Peace Committee and actually come up with projects that whose primary purpose is to promote peace. Another thing that they're doing just recently, I think that this is the first year that they're doing it, they're having a Peace Dove Conference. And you can nominate somebody to be a Peace Dove. And if you're a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, you can nominate another Rotarian, you can nominate a Rotaractor, or you can even nominate somebody who's not even in Rotary. And they're going to be having a big virtual event on June 30th. It's free, so if you are interested in what they're doing, you could register for this event, even if you're not a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace, and maybe you will become a member of the Rotary Action Group for Peace. By the way, it only costs $50. Take it away, Bob.
Lynette, great story. That really touches my heart. You know, I got involved in the Rotary Action Group against slavery back at the Atlanta Convention. You know, I think many of you know that Dr. Brian Gladden and myself, we developed a trafficking project to combat human trafficking here in District 5180. And as we were getting the project going, and we were not quite right there in getting approval of it, we happened to be at the convention and started talking with the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery. At the time, this action group was predominantly people from England, from Australia, and they were trying to help people who were being enslaved get out of slavery. Fast forward to today, and I am on a task force with about 8 people to develop criteria and develop a curriculum to combat human trafficking, not only in the United States, but throughout the world, through education of our students, education of their parents, education of teachers, and education of the general populace. They've asked me to be one of 3 ambassadors or coordinators in the states of California and Nevada. So over the last couple of years, I've been giving speeches all up and down the West Coast to let people know, number 1, about our project, but number 2, what they can do to combat human trafficking. Thirdly, because of this action group, I've been asked to help develop a West Coast Summit, which will be held in 2022. We have about 22 people. Most of them are members of the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery. And we are going to develop a summit somewhere here on the West Coast, which will be streamed throughout our whole zone, and to basically give districts a plan as to how they can combat this terrible modern form of modern slavery. How can the action group help you? Well, here's a couple projects that have happened. I don't want to read it. You can read it for yourselves. The second one, again, is the project that Brian and I developed through the help of the Rotary Action Group Against Slavery. But I want to let you know that there are 3 districts right now that are not only in California, but in Georgia and in Texas that are replicating that project that we did 3-4 years ago. So it tells me that, number 1, we're making a difference here in District 5180, but number 2, if we get involved with people outside of our district, we can make a difference. If any of you have a passion for a project in any one of the action group areas, here's where you go on the Rotary International website to get that information. Now, enough about action groups. Let's turn it over to Brian Moore, Chief Grape, and let's learn about Rotary Fellowships.
Well, thank you, Ranger Bob. And yes, let me share a little bit about Rotary Fellowships. Number 1, as I mentioned earlier, actually Rotary Fellowships focus on people who have these social interests and passion for specific items. They can be recreational activities, they can be hobbies, they can be sports, they can be even Rotary history and culture. Well, let me talk to you a little bit about history. This is fascinating. The fellowships have been around quite some time, but the actual beginning is indicated to be about 1928. It wasn't classified as a fellowship at that time, but what it amounted to was a group of Rotarians in South America created an interest group for Esperanto. And that's a fascinating language. It has no home, and it's what they call a constructed language. And it literally was created by a gentleman in Poland who spoke 7 different languages and found that there were so many different variables with each language that he decided to construct one language that many people could speak about. And there's approximately 2 million people in the world that talk Esperanto. Very interesting. I encourage you to research that. Well, that began kind of the inkling of going through and looking at other interests. So back in 1947 is really when we had the official fellowship determination, and that was basically created by a group of yachting enthusiasts. And they literally nicknamed themselves the International Yachting Fellowship, as you can see there, of Rotarians. And that's how Rotary Fellowship began. Well, let's see. Do you have a specific interest? Well, take a quick look. There's over 100 different Rotary fellowships that you can participate in. If you can't find one, I'm sure you can even create one. But take a good look at this. It's amazing. You quilt? Are you interested in motorcycle riding? Oh, how about cooking? All these different passions that all of us have. There. Look, take a look at it. Once again, it's called Rotary Fellowship. Well, let me share with you, there's two of us here that are going to talk about that today. Lewie Donhost, again from the Rotary Club of East Sacramento, is going to talk about his road warrior days when he's RVing. And so I'm going to turn it over to Lewie and let him share a few ideas and experiences he's had.
Thank you, Brian. I wanted to spend a few minutes and give everyone a little bit of history of the Recreational Vehicle Fellowship. We will be celebrating our 50th anniversary next year at the Houston International Convention. In 1967, the International Caravanning Fellowship of Rotarians started by a group of British Rotarians who decided to travel with their caravan to the RI convention in Nice, France. ICFR was a mother group in the United Kingdom and Germany, New Zealand, France as part of their fellowship with their own charters. In 1971, at a meeting of the Rotary Club in Florida, a vacationing Rotarian who was chairman of the RI World Fellowship sat with a member from New Mexico. Alan suggested to organize a U.S. version of the Caravanning Fellowship already operating in the United Kingdom. Thus, that took to the road in March of 1971. On June 13, 1972, the fellowship became official at the Houston RI Convention. Rotarian Lewie of Chino, California became chairman. A newsletter was put out to all members at that time. In 1975, the fellowship was incorporated in the state of New Mexico, and the increasing activity of the fellowship was evidenced by a steady increase of caravanners attending Rotary International Conventions. In 1976 in New Orleans and 1977 in San Francisco. 1980, 150 recreational vehicles showed up at the RI convention in Chicago. It was at this meeting that the zone and regional rallies were formalized. Currently, 6 or more regional or zone rallies are being held annually. We have members in Canada, United States, and the UK. In 1987, the fellowship was renamed and rechartered as a Recreational Vehicle Fellowship of Rotarians, or RVF. In 1991, the Recreational Vehicle Fellowship started the Highway Safety Program in support of Rotary International Community Service agenda. The members voted to establish a project where the fellowship would present selected items of highway safety equipment to communities at future annual rallies. In 2014, we became friends with a 20-year-old Australian recreational vehicle group of Rotarians, and we became aware that they were not officially a fellowship because a fellowship already existed. At this point, both countries decided to combine as a recreational fellowship international with North America and Australia. Being the group members, between us, we have close to 750 members. There have been many joint get-togethers over the year long with international and rolling rallies. Well, that was the history of the fellowship. Now I would like to tell you a little bit about my wife, Becky, and myself. We joined the Recreational Vehicle Fellowship in June of 1998. Our first rally was at the Indianapolis International Convention in 1998. And from there, over the years, we've attended many, many different rallies throughout the country. Primarily, since we live in California, most of the rallies that we have attended have been in California. this coming year, next year, 2022, will be the RVF Fellowship will be celebrating their 50th anniversary in Houston at the International Convention. We will have our rally prior to the convention. It will be 4 days, and then we will roll over and attend the convention afterwards. So we encourage all of you to attend. If you are interested in recreational camping, please go on our website at rvfrinternational.com, and you will learn more about it. And now I turn back to Brian.
Thank you, Lewie. Would you believe all of what he's done? Amazing. Well, now it's my time to brag a little bit. Well, you probably know my nickname's Chief Grape, okay? Well, I happen to belong to a fellowship, as you well might think, wine. Yes, wine appreciation. It happens to be the largest fellowship in the Rotary world. Yes, 60,000 members. 60,000. 60,000. All over the world. This particular fellowship schedules special dinners at international conventions where you as a member are invited. We taste local wines. We enjoy the food with the wines. An experience like none other. Again, Rotary Wine Appreciation. All you need to do is visit rotarywine.net. Pure and simple. Wine appreciation. It only costs you $26 a year to belong. But if you want to be a lifetime member, it's $110. And you get a special corkscrew Rotary pin with it. Great. We need some chapters started out here in California. We only have a couple, and we don't have one here in the Valley. Nor do we have one up here in the Sierra foothills. So I'd encourage those of you attending this to consider, let's create a chapter of wine appreciation. And then perhaps we can move on to scheduling our own events here locally, tasting wine among our groups. Again, if you've got a passion for wine, by all means, make sure you join this fellowship. I happen to be one of the directors of the group, so that's why I'm trying to promote this, and I need help. 60,000 is just not enough for me. All right, let me move on. What are the benefits? Well, number one, you meet people that have a common interest. Doesn't have to be wine, it can be automobiles. Are you into antique automobiles? What about traveling? A lot of us travel these days now, particularly since the COVID is lifting off and restrictions are being less involved. So anyway, think about it. Again, you saw that list, there's 100 of them. But if for some reason you don't think that you can find a special passion on that list, well, you can basically create your own list, but I advise you, double check. My list might be dated that I just showed you. New fellowships are created every day. So go on the website, the information that's posted here, to share with you exactly what fellowships are out there. You can pick up the details on how to join a fellowship. Any costs are associated, fill out the forms. But if you have a true passion for a specific item, I can assure you there's a Rotary Fellowship that will fit your needs. Well, this is the end of my particular speech, and I want to thank both Ranger Bob, I want to thank Road Warrior Lewie, and I also want to thank Lynette, Peace Angel, for sharing their time with us and making this presentation. So at this stage of the game, we're going to open it back up to any questions you have, and our Zoom facilitator will read off the questions out of the chat. And if we don't have enough questions there and there's more coming out, we'll open it up to the gallery. Thank you again, and we're live now.